All right, how we doing, Kevin? This is part two. It was very nice talking to you. Now we'll continue with my questionnaire. Well, more than a questionnaire, more interview. It's a conversation about two people across the world that like music and they enjoy the music of Tennessee.
Okay.
That's the best I can put it. Okay, yesterday we were talking about the Gizmotron, and I noticed that a few years ago a new version called Gizmotron 2 was made, and I think at the time was currently marketed. How this proposal came about, and what do you think about the new version? What was the rationale to do version 2?
Well, I mean, it sounds like something. It's still always going to be a cult piece of equipment. I think it's never, because I don't know. It looks like something that Leonardo da Vinci might have constructed along with his helicopter, as opposed to a modern day piece of musical equipment.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I'm sure it'll have people who like it. And the big difference between the original and what they're making now is the materials that they're using last longer. The original materials suffered because not enough research went into the actual wheels that strum the strings, and they wore out quickly, and they were prone to all sorts of temperature changes or positionings and so on and so forth. But they've solved that problem now to a great extent. So it's a lot more reliable, the device. And I think they're making them to order. I don't think it's a mass production thing, but they're making them to order pretty much. It's like, I don't know how to classify it really, because it's unique in its own way. It's a unique piece of equipment but as I said yesterday, the old version, the original version, wasn't stable. And if it wasn't calibrated correctly or set up correctly, it could sound more like a chainsaw than a string section, which wasn't ideal in a recording situation. But yeah, it's kind of nice that there's been interest in it for a company to set up to produce them again, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah, I hope you got a license or you got like a patent, so you can make a little bit of income, residual income from that. Or
don't know, maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I around the time of Freeze Frame, you and Lol working together with Phil Manzanera.
Yeah.
I think it was your neighbor at that time. How did this collaboration came about? And it's true that you have planned. There was some talk about forming a band with the two of you and him, or
I don't remember that. I remember it really because we were friends more than anything else, and we were in the same business, and we were also the same generation.
Mm-hmm.
With similar tastes to not to put too fine a point on it. So it seemed to be a natural thing.
Yep.
And yeah, he came down to the studio where we were working, and we tried a few experiments together, which was kind of fun. It was nice to be working with somebody who had a slightly different approach to making music. But was still very much of an experimental frame of mind, which is pretty much where we were at around about that period of time. So it gelled really well, I think. We came up with some interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's good. He's a very good musician. I recently saw him with Roxy Music. They came here to play in DC about 3 weeks ago.
Was that a good show?
It was a very good show, yeah. I like, as I told you before, I like so many bands. There's a lot of music I don't like, but there is a lot of music that I really like. And I never, of course, I never seen you guys play live. Well, back in the day, or Tennessee, or Roxy Music was the first time.
Right.
Seeing Roxy Music.
I always loved Roxy Music. and to a degree, I was always jealous of their attention to detail with regard to visuals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
As we spoke about yesterday, which is something that we didn't have. They always had that covered beautifully.
Yeah. It's weird that you guys, after recording music and you began getting a lot more popular all over the world and doing more gigs, you didn't have like a I don't know, a tour manager who will say, "Hey, guy, visuals is important. We need to use frame. We need to use a different light of lighting." You didn't.
Well, we did. Yes, we did. But
Yeah.
or rather, we hired somebody to do that.
Yeah.
But we didn't get involved with that. And
Yeah.
that's the big difference. I think what we actually ended up doing just wasn't very good. And I think it's probably because the music we were making was kind of indecipherable. It wasn't. It was difficult to quantify. So it wasn't easy for a lighting designer or set designer to come up with something that suited everything that we did. And I think the biggest problem that they have was us, because we didn't look particularly interesting. We didn't dress in a particular way. We didn't have an approach ourselves as a group of people to the way we thought we should look on stage, or anything to do with that. We just didn't. It wasn't part of our remit somehow.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess it was the same with people like Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
All their attention to the visuals went into the projections that were on the screens behind them. That was how that was deployed. But they never looked anything particularly. But they obviously realized that visuals were very important, and indeed they were. We just kind of never bothered, and we accepted anything that was put up there. And it was all pretty shabby looking back on it. Well, it was just kind of, it was exactly as if someone said, yeah, you need to have something going on the stage apart from you. So we got someone to come up with stuff that was going on the stage apart from us, but it just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Which is, it's so dumb. It was so stupid of us. I think we were kind of self-conscious. We didn't fit the role of being snake rock stars. We weren't that.
Mm.
We weren't Aerosmith. We weren't even Pink Floyd. We were just four guys. I described it in my book as we sounded like 400 maniacs from Hollywood, but we looked like four plumbers from Manchester. We
I
didn't.
know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
And there's not a lot you can do with that, really. So we didn't. So we just kind of hope for the best that the music would carry us through. But had we have sat down and thought about it a little bit, at least the two of us, Lol and I, could have possibly come up with something that didn't demand too much from us, but would have assisted that area to live a little bit more. And that it actually got worse, strangely enough, as Lol and I moved into the end of the 70s and into the 80s, as we began to become involved with music video.
Yeah.
And creating visuals for other people. Yeah. Our lack of it stuck with us and got worse. I was starting to get into it a little bit more, because on a couple of occasions I was doing lead vocals and we had to make videos for ourselves. So I was suddenly the front man, and I got into it a little bit. I got into fashion a bit more, because we were hanging around with sort of fashion people in London at that time.
Mm.
So I kind of got into it, but Lol never actually did.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he always felt it was a bit facile and dumb, but I don't know.
Like they say here in the United States, the music should be doing the talking. You know, on
Yes.
the other extremes, there are bands that are very formal, right? Like Duran Duran. You know, everybody need to wear like a blue shirt, got a nice haircut, and the videos were great, and they need to look like sharp and good looking guys and whatever. Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the big change, I guess. I mean, every decade seems to have a vibe,
yeah,
but the vibe for the 1980s was, I suppose, the big buzz for that era was MTV. That changed
everything.
everything,
That's right.
and that was pretty much being led out of Europe and the UK probably more than anywhere else. And people were getting their hair cut, showing their ears again. I think people had forgotten that ears existed in America in
Yeah.
bands. No one had ears anymore, um, and it was quite shocking, the reluctance to change. I remember that quite distinctly when we were beginning to make music videos and we were getting a name for them.
Yeah.
It was like, hey man, why do we have to act or something? Or we have to cut our hair, man. It was like, no, you don't have to do anything, but that's what was how you looked and how you put yourself over visually was becoming very important suddenly.
Mm.
Um, and it was kind of weird to be in that place, having ignored it for so long.
Mm. Were you selling like bands nowadays, right? You know, if a new band, whatever. Pink Floyd or whatever, they put a new record out there, and it cost them whatever 30, 40 grand to put it together. They will not record the money because fewer and fewer people are buying vinyl CDs or so they, in order to record that $40,000, what they do, they sell merchandise at the end of the show, and picture T-shirts, a signed book by yourself. What
Yeah.
was popular back then, back in the day when you guys were touring? Were you selling
No,
merchandise or no?
no, there wasn't any. I don't think there was any such thing as merch back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, no, nothing as far as I recall. Certainly not on any of our European or UK tours. And when we were when we toured the States, we were usually supporting another act,
Correct.
but I don't think merch was a thing.
Tour
Don't
programs were important today.
say again.
Uh, tour programs, like the booklet that the bands put together. I mean, Genesis had for every tour that they did, Pink Floyd they did, Peter Gabriel they did. So Supertramp, I have several for different bands, and
Yeah.
program tours were important today. But yeah, but merchandise. That's what, I don't know, 30% of the income now come from that kind of stuff.
Well, everything's changed so radically. I mean,
Yeah,
it's you don't make much money from records anymore unless
that's
you're
right.
an enormous act.
Yeah,
Then 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 you do make some money, but it is it's so different to what it was. It's more complicated than it used to be. An artist, I wouldn't like to be a new artist now, because in order to survive, you have to actually work really hard in lots of different aspects of the business as opposed to just making music, which is how it used to be.
yeah,
Labels used to take care of all the other stuff. Now it's pretty much down to you if you want to survive on social media and have a profile and be part of the conversation. It's a different world. And I think that's because back in the day, music was it was a generational thing. It was it was the thing, it was a focus for kids back then. The music they listened to and the artists they liked was very important. Today, it's just one aspect of entertainment and one thing that they can do. There's also, there's video games, there is skateboarding, there is goodness knows what else at the touch of a button. And music is kind of a poor third. It's just part of the overall picture. Doesn't lead anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. At the time you were performing, well, it was right. People, I suppose, 4 years ago, young kids wanted to, I don't know, make some money and leave home, form a band, and get all the ladies or whatever. Whatever people wanted at the time.
Yeah, well, it was, I don't think that's changed, but there was always a cultural aspect to it.
Yeah.
It felt like if you were in a band, it felt like you were doing something significant, regardless of whether you were going to become huge or not. It was a lifestyle choice as much as anything else. Now it's anyone can make music now. It's like, which is in a way a great thing. It's a great leap forward because anyone can pick up an instrument and play and create, which is amazing. But whenever something like that happens, I mean, that's an engineering thing, right? So the tools are there. So somebody who can't play can play now. And has the opportunity to jump in. But in so doing, as well as gaining something, you always lose something. And what's been lost, I don't know. It's almost like there's too much music out there. And there is too... Character has been lost, I feel.
Yeah. Nowadays, everybody with a good computer like the one that I have in front of me or the one that you have, you can create your own mixing and your own thing, and you know it's a lot less expensive to. Whether you are a good musician or not, this is completely irrelevant. But you can put create like a CD, send it, and a WAV file or whatever, and you can create music in half an hour, or so, right? Back in the day, you couldn't do it.
It's like the playing field is too flat now. It's. I think Trevor Horn puts it well. He said it's something like, it's like canned food. It's not something that a chef has made in his kitchen and labored over and practiced and turned into something beautiful and extraordinary. It is in a can. It's food in a can that you can buy off a shelf. That's exactly what it's like. And you can buy a tin of that or a tin of that, a tin of the other, and it's there immediately. Which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's the other thing that I think has disappeared, which is such a shame, is that making music today has become more of a lonely experience. Somebody, one person, plus his computer and a few keyboards and so forth, can sit for a week in his bedroom and make something on his own or on her own. And the joy of people playing together and creating together has sort of gone downhill a little bit. Also, what used to happen is a record coming out of Detroit or a record coming out of Muscle Shoals or a record coming out of Abbey Road had a particular sound to it because of the room, because of the players, because of the people involved with putting the thing together. It had a character to it. Now everyone has access to beats by the best drummers in the world, and you put all that together and it doesn't sound like anywhere. It just sounds sort of boringly perfect and polished. Some of the best music that happens is through mistakes, and it's less easy to make mistakes now.
No, I know. I understand. I know exactly what you say. Yeah. So it's a different, Yeah, like you say, you can I can go to a supermarket and buy a can of tuna and frozen pizza, and frozen peas and frozen corn, and then I got a meal, right, with no effort in. Put in the microwave, and that's my dinner. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it'll feed you, and you'll be happy.
yeah,
But you won't go, wow, that pea in there was amazing pea
yeah,
in there.
yeah,
Yeah, I got to tell my friends about that pea. That's
yeah.
not going to happen
It's
because
not going
they're
to
probably
happen, of course not.
having the
Yeah.
same meal. So that, but it's not just, it's happening across the board. I've noticed it's happened to car design. Cars don't look like cars anymore. You know, they look like trainers with wheels. It's like the way things look, the way things sound, the character has gradually become, everything's becoming more and more generic, which I find, I don't like that at all. I'm finding that very disappointing.
I know. I think your cat or dog is coming.
It's one of my dogs, yeah, he's coming into his favorite sort of sleeping spot in the corner. When I'm
Oh.
on the computer, that's where he sleeps. Yeah, good boy.
All right. With you and Cream, I think produce fantastic work, avant-garde, an electric body of work. How do you see this record today, 4 years later, from Consequences to Goodbye, Blue Sky? Do you ever listen? You go back to listen to your old stuff, and they say, "Man, it's great," or you're in your head, you say, "Man, I wish we could have done this. I don't like track 2 or track 4. I would have changed." Or do you go back and kind of listen to your
No,
own stuff,
yeah,
or it's not
yes,
helping?
yes and no.
Yeah,
Yes and no. Occasionally I have a listen. I think a track for me that sums up
yeah.
Godley and Creme post Consequences, for me anyway, was a track. I think it was probably on Freeze Frame,
Yeah.
called I Pity Inanimate Objects. I think that was on Freeze Frame. Um, that to me is a great example of successful experimentation using tools that we didn't know what they could do. It was using one of the first harmonizers that arrived in the country with a small keyboard, and we didn't know what the keyboard was for. So we fucked around with it and came up with that particular. Do you know the track I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know the top
Yeah.
of my head, but I can check it out. Yeah, I wrote myself a note. I would check it out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That particular track is one of the ones I'm most proud of, I guess, because it was kind of way ahead of its time, both technologically and artistically. I believe, but I think no, there's the one thing I do regret, and this includes 10cc as well. One of my favorite tracks was something we did called Nuit Paris, One Night in Paris.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. But we used sort of pretend French accents. We were all singing like this. It was like that. When I listen to it now, I find excruciatingly embarrassing that we actually did that. That's my only sort of regret. Everything else seems to sit perfectly adequately where it lived originally. And all the Godley and Creme stuff, there's some gems in there. Obviously, there's things that could have been better, but there's not a lot. They all still work for their time, and some still sort of ahead of their time, I think. So no, I'm very happy with everything we did.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. Sometimes it's not good to look back. Move forward. What's the point? I mean, yeah, everybody, artists or musicians I have interviewed, yeah, they want to move forward. I mean, what's the point? Yeah, you can. It's so easy to look back, right? And make critique about a work, whether it's a painting or an article you wrote or a book or music, whatever. And, you know, you did the best you could under the circumstances at the time. That, you know, we are happy, we're selling record, we did okay, we make our living out of music or a painter or whatever.
We can't change it. We just, after consequences, we just kind of rolled with the punches for a while. You know, we had no idea what was going to happen, so we made the best of what we had. We ended up working in a small 16-track studio around the corner from Lol's house, which was called Surrey Sound, and it was run by a guy called his first name, apathetic. Nigel Gray was his name, and he was a police doctor.
Yeah,
a real police doctor, Nigel Gray. He was his studio, and he was the engineer. But he produced the first 2 or 3 albums by the Police, who worked there.
Wow.
And we were kind of working there when they were working there, so we would cross paths every now and again, which was kind of cool. And whenever Godley and Creme came in to record, he would play us Police tracks that he'd been working on and say things like, you know, you can do all the overdubs you want, boys, but these 3 guys made this sound all playing at the same time. Just no overdubs, just the 3 of them. That's how you should be doing it. And we go, no, we want to double this, or we want to play 4 guitars here. 2 completely different styles of working, but by God, he was right. They were amazing. What they did and the sound they got in that small studio was terrific.
Yeah, the Police was a great band. Well, they still is. You know, they're not together.
Yeah.
They were.
And we kind of got to know them. I guess that's why we ended up doing music videos for them.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, from that period, you know, if somebody were to ask me, since I have listened to a lot of music in my life, what are the top bands? They're all British. I mean, the Pink Floyd was ahead of time. Led Zeppelin, 10cc, Genesis with Peter Gabriel. There were probably was a lot of bad music too, but at least to my taste of music, those are the best band came from the UK. It's no question about it. I mean, I don't know, because maybe I like that type of music, or probably because some of the first records that I have were from Genesis or whatever, but they were, you guys too, they were a different level altogether, you know, or from Manchester or from Sheffield. There were many bands. I mean, Sheffield was, you know, like the mecca to, you know, because there were so many bands that came from there, right?
Manchester, I mean, Manchester when I was a kid was it was on fire. You know, there were so many clubs.
Yeah.
Had to have been about 10 clubs where you could go and watch live music. There was goodness knows how many cinemas where you could go and watch movies, restaurants, cafes. The nightlife in Manchester has always been very hot and extraordinary. Lots going on. So it bred so many bands, important bands came out of Manchester.
Absolutely.
Even after us, you know, they used Strawberry Studios too.
Yeah.
A friend of mine designed the Hacienda Club, and the whole scene that came out of the Hacienda and Factory Records. That was all, again, allied to Strawberry Studios in one way, shape, or form. So it's nice to have been a part of something beyond the original band, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned somewhere, I read that you mentioned that Orson Welles said that ignorance is the key to able to do new things. And I think your school teacher, Bill Clark, encourage you to deliver something that you didn't know at the time that was possible for you to deliver. You know, can you tell me about the creative process when you were creating a film, and then later on we'll talk about all the videos that you made and a piece of music. It's good that, you know, like a manager or a boss or your daddy or whatever push you out of your comfort zone. I think, well, if you stay inside the box, right, your aspirational limited. But if somebody say, well, you have a lot more potential, you need to get out the box, expand your horizon, and be foolish.
There was never a box. That's
huh?
the thing. There was never a box.
Never a box. The box is inside your head.
There was never a box.
Yeah.
And we always thought like that. And the tutor you were talking about was a guy called Bill Clark.
Yeah.
When Lol and I were in the first year at art college, the foundation year.
Yeah.
Who he used to do crazy shit. You know, I mean, people who went to art college, a lot of them could draw, and a lot of them had a reasonable grasp of what art they wanted to do and who they were.
Yeah.
But his whole, he was a kind of art teacher version of Brian Eno. He would say to somebody, he'd walk in the morning and he'd say, well, how do you usually work? What tools do you use? And he said, well, I use an HB pencil, and I usually draw in black and white. And he'd say, okay, well, today you're going to be using charcoal, and you're not going to use black or white. You're going to use every other color under the sun. Or, which is fine, which is great. But that got more extreme. Like, you would have us painting while standing on one leg, or drawing with our eyes closed or blindfolded. The purpose wasn't to create great art. The purpose was to get used to the notion of pushing yourself in different directions to get beyond what you know you can do, and to touch the edge of something special that you didn't know you could do. And that's really what has stuck with me for all these years. It's a difficult thing to do because, naturally one relies on things you can get done to a degree, and that's going to work. And you have to think back and get into that mindset and think, that's okay, but could it be any better? What happens? And I do this a lot when I'm singing. If I'm recording a vocal on something, I'll sing something crazy over the top of it, just in case. And sometimes it's much better than what I thought it was going to be. And sometimes it's rubbish. But say 5 times out of 10, it's something that I didn't know I could do. And therefore, it's something that I will develop. And had I have not have done that, or tried to go to that place, it's a sort of controlled jeopardy, if you like. It's the opposite of taking drugs to get there, because you have no control. But if you bear in mind the fact that you want to reach a place and you don't know what that place is, but you let whatever talent you have express itself in some unknown way, then you might find that thing. You might find it. And it could be by accident, it's so often when you're playing an instrument, you hit a bum chord or a tempo that it's not what you originally intended, but it's better than what you originally intended.
Absolutely.
To be open to that all the time is absolutely critical to me. I never want to get to a place where I'm going to be content with the first thing I come up with.
Yeah. And perhaps because Creme and yourself have the same teacher, the same kind of background, that helped you out in your later years with NCC and then with the music videos, right? You were,
it was more than
right. The only way to be successful or creative, you need to push the envelope, like they say here in the United States.
All
Right?
the time, all the time.
That's the only way, right? So
The interesting thing about the difference, I mean, to me,
yeah,
whatever medium I'm working in, it's kind of all the same. It's just that I get to turn on a different tap and it comes out differently through all the different taps.
yeah,
It comes out, but the big difference between making music and making a music video,
yeah,
there was a huge difference for us as people. And the difference being was the fact that we were in at the beginning of something for the first time in our creative lives. When we were making music together, we became part of an industry that had been around for a while. You know, we were another group, we were another act, we were another set of songwriters. But when we started making music videos, there was no industry. There was 2 or 3 people in England directing them. The record labels and artists had no idea at that point what a video was or what it could do or what it was for. And frankly, neither did we, but we were made for it for the simple reason that our background was music and we came from an art college background. So
absolutely, yeah.
it was the perfect medium to marry those 2 things together. And we took to it like ducks to water, but we didn't have any fear. Our ideas weren't driven by what we'd seen before because there was fuck all else to see before.
Mm.
So we had to come up with things that, you know, it's not that much different to the Beatles in many respects. The work they did later on in their careers didn't owe anything to anything other than their own imaginations, and we were in the same place, but in terms of visuals. And we were also, I think, when we were in 10cc, thinking back, we were kind of frustrated filmmakers in a way, and a lot of the material we wrote was very visual, was very filmic, even though we weren't. One Night in Paris, Somewhere in Hollywood, there was a frustration in there that these songs weren't films. And now was the time, or then was the time to make films. And we came up with ideas that we hadn't seen before, that we wanted to see, and we believed could be interesting. We didn't know that they would all work. Because we had no formal background in film training. You know, when we started making these things, we didn't know a camera from a camel. You know, we just did them and sort of learned on the job. And I think that one of the important factors in our success in that field has been the fact that we came from music. So musicians could relate to us more than they might relate to a documentary maker or an advertiser, commercials maker, or so on and so forth. We were their kind of people, and that was really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very well said the way you put it. You also are a very good cartoonist. It shows in the book. The fans start here with a lot of humor and funny vignettes.
Yeah.
And feel free to elaborate on that.
Yeah, that was a very cynical but funny book. Yeah. Well, it's, you know, we as I said, there was never, and there still never is any boundaries. Not really. I'm working on a lot of things now that I never thought I'd ever be working on. So you've got to give things a shot. In order to keep your interests alive, from my perspective, I can't do something that somebody else is doing, because 9 times out of 10 they'll be doing it better than me. So I have to do something that is going to be that I can bring my perspective to. So that's never going to go away.
You still wake up every morning with ideas and stuff coming to your head from different direction, music, drawing, videos. You still,
Yeah, sort of. And so I jot them down. You know, I sort of make notes, and I've got files all over the place in notebooks, but more on my computer now. So I can, if I could think of something, well, I can think, well, that would go with that, and that would make an amazing this, that, and the other. I mean, at the moment, I'm in the early stages of working on an opera.
Really?
Yes, I've been asked to. It's not my project originally, but I was asked to co-write the libretto of an opera and also create screen content for the opera. So that's something I'm helping develop at the moment. I've been asked to join a video games company as a kind of, I don't know how do they put me, as some kind of imagination guru, for want of a better word, but somebody to bring new ideas to that medium. I've found a way of creating strange art, still art, from a lot of the music videos that I've made over the years. It's sort of stuff that happened by accident that I've developed with software over the years. So I'm hoping at the moment to exhibit those at some point in the not too distant future. I've written 2 screenplays for films that I hope to possibly direct if I can. And I've recently done a couple of music videos for Tim Burgess of the Charlatans, which was fun. I don't do many of them anymore, but when I do, they have to be the ones that I really want to do. And I've got another music project that I'm sort of in the early stages of planning. So yes, I wake up in the morning and either think, I can't do any of these. Which one of these am I going to do today? But I'm grateful for the fact that I do wake up every morning and my head's full of something interesting. It's not going back to the past. I never go back to the past because it's important to me as an artist in one medium or another to be valid today. I don't want to be, I don't run on nostalgia.
Yeah. No, understood. Yeah, it's you're lucky. Well, I don't know, luck or not, but you are where you are because you earned it, right? So you did work in the video industry as a cartoonist, as a musician. So you earned your way. You paid the dues already, so to speak. So now
there has to be an element of jeopardy in it, I think, and it's a scary thing. One doesn't want to be scared all the time, but there has to be the possibility somehow that you don't know quite what you're heading into. That makes it all the more exciting. Going for a walk is fine if you know you can reach the end of the road, but if there's some potholes on the way, then it makes it more exciting when you do get to the end of the road. That sounds kind of negative, but it's not really. It's about enjoying the experience of finding your way to something, as opposed to knowing what you're finding your way to and getting there. It's like, I like to be surprised by something at the end of the journey, and either listen to it or look at it and think, wow, that's kind of different to what I expected, much more interesting than what I set out to do.
Yeah, like they say, the journey is more important than the destination, right? So
I wouldn't say that, because you always want what you do to be amazing when you get there. It's just that I have an inbuilt part of my DNA that that feels uncomfortable if it's too easy. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Along the way, you created, well, one of my best bands of all time, Alan Parsons, one of the best albums, the Return of a Friendly Car. You end up creating the cover. How that came about? How you end up meeting Alan Parsons and so forth?
Which sorry, what Alan Parsons? What did he do?
The Return of a Friendly Car album.
I remember doing something with Alan. I don't remember what we did. What
Yeah,
did
you did the cover from that particular album.
Oh, the cover.
Yeah, you did the cover. Yeah.
And what was it? Was it stained glass or something? I can't remember
Yeah,
what that
yeah,
was.
correct. Yeah, it's
That's probably. Yeah, we did that occasionally. I did my album cover as well.
Yeah.
Made for Muscle Memory. I like doing that too. It's like designing is taking things back to basics. Can I still design something? Yes, I can. I guess we've both been lucky in our own ways in that we've been given these two facilities. One is to hear things and make things for the ears, and the other is to make things for the eyes. And I've sort of enjoyed doing both, and I hope to continue doing both. I'm never going to be into sport. That's something I don't think I'll ever get into. And there's lots of things I can't do, but lots of other things. I mean, I've recently designed a clock, which is a big ambition of mine, a very unusual clock, which I want to get made as a piece of art, strangely enough. So occasionally, I if there is a box, I fall out of it occasionally and waddle around and come up with something that's really bizarre and then jump back into the box that doesn't exist.
Well, maybe your box is bigger than everybody else's.
Maybe the box I can't. Yes, it's like the universe. I can't see the edges.
That's right. Yeah.
Of the box. That's a good way of putting it. It's a great place. It's a great place to be, but and one doesn't always get it right. You know, I'm here singing the praises of there being no box and doing amazing things. But, you know, Godley and Creme made a few videos that were hopeless and didn't really work at all. And you learn from that, you know. I still fuck up every now and again, but I try and fuck up in a rough stage before I actually do something properly.
That's right.
I try and figure out if it is going to work at an earlier stage if possible. But you have to allow yourself to fail. I think that's part of the process.
That's what makes us human beings, I think, man.
That's what makes us human beings. And yeah, it's part of living. We all fuck up. We all fuck up. But we make errors and we make mistakes, but we learn things from them and we go off in different directions and we end up over here and something amazing will come out of there if you're lucky. I've been lucky enough to live a very creative life so far.
Yeah, yes, you have, man.
So I can't complain.
Yes, you have. I wanna bring your attention to the making of I Am Not in Love.
Yeah.
By the way, do you know? Let me give you the numbers because I told you I'm an engineer. I'm good with math, right? If I believe all the statistics that Spotify is showing me, okay, and I add the number, right? In terms of I look at the top 10 of all time track there for different bands, and I add them, right? Just to give you an idea, if I were to do the top 10 of 10cc, there had been streamed 500 million times on Spotify. 500 million times on Spotify. A band like Genesis, 750 millions. Peter Gabriel, 521 million, right? And just I Am Not in Love has been streamed 242 million times on Spotify. My
Holy
God,
shit.
man.
Holy shit.
And I will say the number, 242 million times. I hope
million,
you're getting royalties out there, but because
242 million.
correct,
With,
millions,
okay.
right?
I got an email from Sting a couple of weeks ago saying that Every Breath You Take, the video,
Yeah,
has had 1 billion views.
correct.
1 billion,
That's right.
which is like incomprehensible to me. Well, that's a testament, right? That means things last.
Good stuff. Good. You're very humble. Good quality stuff lasts. Crap fall off the track.
Well, crap lasts as well.
Well, but sure, only a couple of
Yeah.
days. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's not an accident. What I'm saying is, the four of you were, humble kids, in some town in England, and you look back now. Well, we were not that bad, right? It's not an accident that our music had been streamed 500 million times on Spotify. I hope you're getting a good revenue and a check every month for all the royalties and all the commercials and all the magazine and everything.
On Spotify, I'll probably get 200 quid. Yeah, but it's if only it worked like it used to, I'd be probably a wealthy man.
Yeah.
But it's what it is. It's knowing that now you've told me that makes me feel really good that we actually put something out there that meant something.
Yeah.
And still does. I mean, it certainly helped that I'm Not in Love was in Guardians of the Galaxy. That didn't do it any harm. And it was also long ago. That's kind of what is strange, that people are still moved by some of the stuff that we did back then in the 70s. It's crazy shit.
Yeah, 50 years ago. And I was watching the other night a video and see the beautiful thing. I don't know if it was because you guys were different, the four of you, or maybe in the 70s that's the way it was, but you guys were dependent on one another, listened to one another. Technology wasn't there, so you were resourceful, and it wasn't like a formula, right? You were using innovation, intuition, experimentation, and talent. I mean, I think the first time I read, when I was putting the question for the interview, I think you put that together and you say, no, it's not that great. It's not going to the record. You shelve it somewhere, and then you start thinking about what if we added, maybe it was your idea or Graham, I don't know. You start, what if we put voices on top of that, right? And then override the voices and then arrange it. And I think a video or picture where in front of recording instrument and you guys were playing with different knobs and okay, let's start Graham. And then when Graham is get to level 3 or whatever, I will move the needle to the other one and the other one. It was coming together. And then I think you end up calling the secretary. And then she put like a couple of, she wrote like 3 or 4 words and men's are don't cry or boys don't cry or whatever it was, right?
That originally, that area of the song, I remember now, you just reminded me of it, was a second middle 8. There was a whole other middle 8 in there.
Yeah.
That didn't quite work. So we thought, what else can we put in there? And that's where we had Kathy come in and speak that part, which was much better. The tune that's going under there, dun, 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 was the tune was the top line of that second middle eight, if I remember correctly. But this idea just worked. It was, I think, the thing that drove us more than anything else. And we were driven. We did work hard. We worked mad hours to do what we did. We wanted everything to be amazing. We weren't. No one was persuading us. No one was standing there and saying, you can't do this. There was nobody there in the studio but us. And therefore, it was kind of our studio. We could do what we want. So we were lucky enough to do what we wanted. But it also turned out that a lot of other people liked it. Really, it's as simple as that. We connected with an audience, and we didn't know that we would. I don't think anybody really knows that they will. They hopefully they start off making music in one shape or another because they want to make music and they like making music. But who the hell knows it's going to reach that amount of people? It's some magic that happens sometimes to lucky people. And we kind of did it for a while, which was great. It's cherished.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. That, of course, you do, as you're a musician, right? So you at the beginning you want to create good music, and if along the way the music pay the bills and you can buy a house and raise a family, that's great. But you don't have put money, a dollar sign in front of the music before you start working. It so happened that the quality of the work was so great that you did it at a particular time in life, and with Poppy and a good generation like that stuff, and then 50 years later still playing like crazy in Spotify, right? And the same with Genesis and the Pink Floyd that you mentioned, right? Sting a billion times from the video creators.
It's insane. I mean, I didn't anticipate that I'd be talking to somebody like you ever. I thought that all this would have all finished long ago.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I still am. So I'm kind of proud that whatever I did or am doing and are continuing to do, I just hope that it moves people in one shape or form. That's the key. But it always has to move me first. If I think it's interesting, then because I'm a fan of music, I'm a fan of film, I'm a fan of this, that, and the other.
Yep.
If it moves me and I'm a fan of all those different mediums, then I think, well, maybe it'll move some other people as well. I'm the only barometer that I have, really. I'm always trying to surprise myself.
Yeah. What resonated with me, because I have a similar relationship with my dad that passed away. I was a stupid kid doing stupid stuff when I was 17, 18. And what resonated with me, you mentioned, well, Claudio, I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at physics, chemistry. I knew that I like art. My parent wanted for me to go to whatever, Oxford, Cambridge, get a business degree and run the family business. I say, I have no interest with that. I don't want to do it. And your parents tell you, okay, study arts, take some time off, give your degree, and then come back and run the family business. And you never did. And you did much better than that. I mean, if your dad was alive, look at, man, I would show the sign of 242 million hits on
Spotify, Same story as me, but our parents lived through a war.
Yeah.
So their values were completely different. Their values must be completely come from a whole different place. They saw something that hopefully that we never will. But what's going on in the world today, thank goodness not something that will ever touch us, but you never know. So of course they're going to be different. And we've just been fucking lucky. And the sacrifices they made and by going to war have allowed us to be freer than they were. So we can't apologize for not being like them. And
but you did okay in your life, man. You did all right. Yeah, I have the number here. So, okay, so I'm not in love. 24, 242 million. Dreadlock Holiday, 126 million. The Things We Do for Love, 80 millions. Number 4 is the Wall Street Shuffle, and so on and so forth. So if you add all of them up, 200 million, 100 is 500 million altogether. The top 10.
That's incredible. Excuse me, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
Is it? I wonder if it's 3 people who have watched them a lot of times, or if it's,
I don't know about no.
42 million people.
And then you can see in which country you were very popular in the UK, of course, but in United States, in Germany, Australia, and all different countries. So a lot of people still nowadays, a lot of people like 10cc, man. Let's talk a little bit about your as a video director. You made masterpieces, man, with Lol, full of creativity. How you started? I think your first music video was An Englishman in New York, right, with Sting.
No.
I'm wrong. It was An English in New York of yours, right?
It was the same title, but it was a
same title, right? Yeah.
Song. Yes, that was the first one, and I know we're credited with directing it, but it's not. I wouldn't say that's 100% true. What happened was, we were recording the album. We recorded this track. I think that Freeze Frame. I think it probably was. And we weren't a touring band. We were just these 2 guys that still had a recording contract. And we knew that we weren't going to tour. So how the hell were we going to promote the record? So we thought, well, why don't we make a short film? You know, the title music video didn't exist then. And so we cobbled a few ideas together and we made a short storyboard, 8 frames, 8 drawings that we took to the label and asked if we could make a film. Because, you know, that might appear on Top of the Pops, or it might appear on the Old Grey Whistle Test, or whatever. And they surprisingly said yes. But the caveat was that we couldn't direct it because we'd never directed anything before. We would be the artists, and they chose a director called Derek Burbage, who we drove crazy, pretty much. Derek Burbage, incidentally, directed the first few police videos.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You know, the ones in dressing rooms, the ones at NASA, all those great videos. He directed those. And he was tasked with directing us, but the experience of making the videos was like, you know, light bulbs were going off on our heads every 10 minutes. We were like, this is great. We could do this. Yeah, well, you know, we performed and we did our thing and everything, but like, it just clicked. Everything clicked, and we insisted on being there during the post-production editing phase of the video, and must have been a total pain in the arse, because we were going, what if you touch that button there? What if you pull that lever? And it was like, no, don't do it. I'm sure had we not have showed up for the edit, that the finished piece of film would have been radically different to what it ended up being.
Right.
But we tried every effect under the sun on that video. And we walked away from that thinking, fuck, this medium is amazing. We can do stuff with this. And we got the credit for the final thing, pretty much. But Derek was very, very giving and very, very good to us. I think he must have recognized something in us that maybe we didn't know existed yet. But I think he knew that we connected to the medium in a way that may or may not blossom. But for those few days, we were more alive than we had been for a while. And the record was a big hit in Europe, and thanks to the video to a great degree. And round about the same time, Steve Strange had formed the band Visage, and he'd also signed to Polydor, our label. And we knew Steve from the clubs around London, and he wanted us to direct his first video. And so it was like, you know what, those guys, they're not professional videos makers. I want those guys to direct the video. And so we did. And that record was a hit. Again, it was at the very beginning, the tip of the iceberg of the music video revolution, for want of a better word. And things just kind of snowballed from there. We were the only duo in the UK at the time, I think, who came directly from music. Everybody else had either been working in TV or commercials and had started doing this because it looked interesting. But we came straight from music to this. And I think that was surprising to people at the time. But we just deployed that way of thinking. It was making a music video to us was like recording. We always tried to leave room in the process for playtime, for want of a better description, either during the shooting or during the post-production. And we used to drive people crazy because there were no rules to us.
Well, you were at the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
You learned from the main guy and you were credited, you know.
Yeah.
And then you learn the ropes, and it can't be that difficult. And then I suppose easy for me to say, but then trial and error, you put the first one, you put the second one right. And
well, it was always about, well, can we do this? And people say, no, it's not. That piece of equipment isn't designed to do that. So I said, well, why not? It can do that, though, can't it? And they'd say, well, if you fuck with this and you turn that screw there and we go inside the piece, and yeah, it probably could.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. Behind every edit suite, there's a room called the machine room, where all the carefully calibrated machinery lives, all the recording equipment, all the color correction lives. And we'd go in there with screwdrivers and hammers and start bugging around with all the gear. People pulling their hair out. But I think what tends to happen is that the machinery evolves to deliver new effects to the medium as the medium develops, and that's kind of what was happening during that early period of making music videos. Music videos didn't mean much for a long time until MTV kicked in. And then it became a sort of universal gallery for short filmmakers like us. And people loved it. And so did we.
Yeah.
we were
and if you look back, you know, Ultravox, The Police, yes, Duran Duran, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and so on and so forth. It's
the great thing was the Lunatics were running the asylum again.
Right,
but
again.
This time we were the Lunatics.
Yeah. Wow. I need to read your book.
Sorry?
I need to read your book.
You do need to read the book. It's not a kiss and tell book. It's about the work more than anything else. So you'll get the thought processes behind everything. You'll understand it. It's on iBooks, I think, Mac, and it's called what the fuck it's called?
The Lunatics Are Running the Asylum. That should be your next book.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be doing another book. I'm just trying to remember the title of it. Oh, funny the things you forget. Jesus Christ.
The World According to Me by Kevin Godley.
Yeah, it's called Space Cake.
Space Cake. Okay.
Space Cake, yeah, which was, yeah. The title was thought up by a friend of mine, Gavin Friday. And it's perfect. Perfect.
Well, maybe I never been in Ireland, so for one reason or another, I have gone to a lot of places, never know. So maybe one day I will visit you there, and and we invite. I take you and your wife to dinner or something.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you.
And if you're ever here in the United States, you can. My wife is a very good cook, actually, and I have a crazy son, so.
We're vegetarian. That's the only thing.
That's okay.
Yeah. Where do you live? You're based in Washington?
Yeah, close to Washington. I live in the border. I live in Virginia, about like 25 minutes from the White House.
What do you think about what's happening in the States politically at the moment?
The whole world is messed up.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the fact that Putin can do whatever you want with Ukraine. He's killing his own people, more people of the world. They put in pressure, economically pressure from different countries, but still the guy is crazy, and he may go crazy one day, pull the trigger and launch a nuke. And United States is saying, here in the United States, we are prepared. If he does it, we will retaliate, and then the whole world will explode. It's we how in the world like people like Putin, can get away with stuff? How in the world people like Hitler was able to kill 5 million Jews there in Germany, and the Germany didn't do anything about it? And we are a crazy human species, and we are doomed, I think, in many ways, man.
Oh yeah, I don't think we deserve to be around much longer.
No, thank you. And
it's
the whole planet, man, is crazy. It's music. Music is a salvation. I think. I wish I was famous, and I will have a meeting with Putin. I will bring 10 records. One will be for 1cc, and I will bring other one for Pan Metheny, probably one from Genesis, and I will take out the guy to dinner. Listen to good music. Let's hear me out for an hour, man. Let's get a beer. Let's get a cup of coffee, man. I will show him some picture, and I will.
He wouldn't listen to you. He wouldn't even have a.
Oh, he will. He will. I'm a good. People say that I'm good in the interviews because I'm like a psychologist. I get along well with people, and
Putin's not people though. He's I don't know what he is. He's I don't know. There are always going to be people like that. That's the horrible thing. Humanity seems to occasionally breed people like that, and we all have to put up with it.
Man, I hope not. Why innocent people that want to be independent cannot live by themselves? Why they need to be forced to do things that they don't like it? It's and the same. It used to be with Ireland and England and Palestine and Israel and so on and so forth. There are many places in the world. It's not just them. I've been listening to hearing stories about Palestine and Israel from the last 50 years, and then 100 years from now will be the same. People killing one another for one reason or another, being
Yes, but this time we'll be using artificial intelligence to do it.
Yeah, we'll send robots, or we'll say, machines, and hopefully not human beings. And but
I prefer artificial ignorance myself. That's much more interesting. That's got a random factor to it that's more interesting than artificial intelligence and autonomous vehicles. And the one thing that's pissing me off really now is it's difficult to talk to somebody if you have a problem with your bank or some company you bought something from. You can no longer talk to anybody. You have to go through a series of protocols which involve bots and chatbots and
correct. There's software and machines
fucking
behind it.
horrible. And they're not remotely intelligent
Yeah.
or convenient as they like to say they are. It's just a way of them not having to bother with problems. It's horrible. I have a lot of problems with the way things are going, other than war and disease and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's no, I don't think we deserve to go on the way we're going much longer.
Elon Musk want to take us to Mars or the moon and other planet, and down the road outside our I don't know, galaxy, Milky Way, and
Travel to the nearest planets, right? I know there's talk of sort of emigrating to various planets, but the nearest habitable planet is probably in real time about 30,000 years away. So whatever ships they send will have to be generational ships where 3 generations of people will have to be born, live, and die on these ships before they get there. It's not, it's not down the road.
No, but it's a lot of very good physicists working in trying to develop new ways of overcome, faster way to go there, and via wormholes or via different stuff in physics too.
Just clean this fucking place up and treat it right and develop. You don't want to fuck somebody else's backyard up. You don't even know if anyone
That's right.
else's...
We'll go somewhere else. We'll destroy that place too.
Yeah. And what if you get there and it's closed?
Well,
that's no good. Sorry, no humans allowed.
That should be a good sign, or
Yeah, no humans allowed. Try again next century. Exactly.
All right. Another question: How do you come up with the idea of I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the Judio app?
How do I what?
How you come out with the idea of the Judio app? Youdio. It's an application that you. How do you pronounce it?
Judio.
Judio. Right. Okay, yeah.
Originally, it was called Whole World Band. The idea for it, I conceived and directed a show for BBC Two in 1990 called One World, One Voice, to celebrate the end of a series of environmental concern programs that we're making on the BBC. And I was asked to come up with an idea for something to be a sort of climax to that 2 weeks worth of programming. And they originally saw it as a concert, something like Live Aid, where a load of big stars and musicians would all assemble in one place. And after that had been done, there's no way we were going to top Live Aid, never. So the idea was that we'd flip that idea and we'd take a small crew, a sound crew and a camera crew around the world, and we would start a piece of music with one artist in one country, and then we'd take that piece of music and film to another city in another country and get people to add to it. In other words, we would go to where the music lived and record it and film it, which is pretty much what we did. But en route, we recorded people in the street. We recorded not just big artists, but we recorded, people on Venice Beach playing saxophone for peanuts and stuff like that. And so that was the genesis of video, whereby somebody could put one instrument up, playing whatever they want, and other people could join in sound and picture. We were well ahead of our time, unfortunately. This was sort of like 2015, 16. And had we have done it when COVID kicked in, we would have probably done a lot better than we did. But it was a great idea, but it was a difficult one to get people to buy into. But that's the genesis of it.
Will you do it again if COVID hadn't happened? Would you have done it again, or it was?
It was too late. The business didn't work, unfortunately. Which is sad for me. Although I'm proud of the idea, it didn't work as well as we thought, because I don't think people quite understood it, and we were a little bit ahead of the curve. And I think it was David Bowie who said, "Never be the first," which is a strange thing for him to say, but I know what he means. If you're going to be the first, you're going to take all the flack, and other people are going to learn from your misadventures. So there's something to be said for that. But I like being the first, and I'm not sorry that I did it, because for a while it was great. It was great. We were in the wrong time. We were at the wrong time.
Mm. David Bowie was an amazing human being too.
It was what?
An amazing human being. David Bowie. I never saw him play live because I never met him. But
I met him a couple of times. Extraordinary guy. He was a futurist. He could sort of see into the
absolutely,
future.
Man.
He knew, he had an instinct for what was coming, but whilst drawing from what was already there, and he looked great. That, just going back to an earlier part of our conversation, if he'd been small and fat and hairy, I don't think he would have been as big as he was.
Yeah.
He had the whole package.
You need to, but you need to be talented, though, right? So luck and looks can carry you a little bit, but not all the way, right? So
no, but some people, I have a theory that the people who are really successful in the entertainment business, the musicians particularly, they have a very specific, they have the best version of that face.
Oh.
If you know what I mean. Bob Dylan has the best version of that kind of face.
Yeah.
John Lennon had the best version of that kind of face. I don't know. It's a difficult, star quality is a difficult thing to sort of pin down, but Bowie had it in spades, and he matched it with what he achieved in a number of different fields. So he was a smart guy.
Absolutely, yeah. It's crazy, controversial, but way ahead of his time. It's
way ahead of his time. But in a way that he managed to control and to reach and create an audience for something that was different. Not everything he did was instantly successful, of course, but in the long run, you look back on his career and how influential he was. He was, one of the greats. Greats.
He was a business savvy too as well. He knew how he can capitalize on his good ideas and on his invention and on his music and being ahead of the time. And yeah, some people are as good both, right? The business side and the music side, or film industry, or whatever happens to be the art form.
Yeah, I think it's important to, and he did understand the business as well as the creative side. He had that kind of mind where not all of us can do that, which is a shame. I'm not great at understanding the inner workings of the music industry. I wish I understood a little bit more. But he was one of the people that did. There are lots of people who do. You too are very knowledgeable about how the industry works, and it served them well. Not everybody can think like that. It's an unusual combination. Most of the people I know who are creative artistically are hopeless at a lot of practical things like business and mathematics and so forth.
Some people.
I'm one of those, unfortunately.
No, you're very humble, man.
Well, I'm not humble. It's a fact of life.
Well,
I'm not complaining.
I look at all the good stuff that you have done, know the stuff that you don't know, or know the stuff that
and all the
maybe
stuff
you're not good at it. I don't.
Stuff yet to come. I ain't finished yet.
We haven't finished yet. In 2006, you worked with Graham again and released an EP with 6 tracks, right? It was including the combination of the things we do for love, released first on a CD, and it's very good, man. I really like this stuff.
The GGO6 stuff.
Yeah, the things we do for love. It's a combination. I think it's called that way. Yeah.
No, I didn't do that. I didn't do the things we do for love. You're thinking of something else.
No, you did it in 2006. You worked with Graham.
No,
an EP that was 6 tracks.
That's right. One of them wasn't the things we do for love.
Oh, I'm wrong then.
That's right. The things we do for love, I think, was one of the first hits 10cc had after Lol Creme and I left in '76.
Yeah.
That was a continuation of 10cc with just Eric and Graham and others. But that was probably one of the reasons we left, in fact, the things we do for love. No, we had 6 tracks out. I can't remember the titles offhand, but yeah, that was great fun doing that. It was unfinished business because Graham and I probably only wrote 2 or 3 tracks together within 10cc within those 4 years. So it was like we never got to write over a sort of concentrated period of time. So it was an interesting thing to do. We came up with some goodies.
Is Graham touring nowadays, right? Is that right?
He is touring 10cc. It's quite extraordinary and doing really well at it. There is still, it's different because they are like their own tribute band. People want to hear that music played live, and it kind of doesn't matter who plays it. In a sense, there is a band out there that plays 10cc music, and the fact that there is one guy who was in the original version of the band plus a couple of others from the second version of the band, it's kind of neither here nor there. It's the fact that there is a bunch of people on stage playing 10cc music, and it's still loved by lots of people. An older class of people, I would imagine. I did 2 films for their show. I sing on stage with them on screen for somewhere in Hollywood. And I did a film that shows on a backdrop during I'm Not in Love. So I'm sort of still connected to them in a strange way.
Yeah. Legally, each one of the original 4 members can launch a band and call it, Friends of 10cc or whatever, and do it, right? Or legally they're allowed to do it.
10cc,
Huh?
the remnants of 10cc, 5cc.
Yeah, 5cc instead of 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I remember that Lol
I
and
mean,
I.
Steve Hackett played Genesis music, right? He was involved. I don't know, Sting stuff, sing stuff from the Police, Roy Waters stuff from, Pink Floyd and so on and so forth. I suppose that, I don't know, they need the money and they know the tracks and a band was popular and, well, let's make some money and carry the name and, you know.
I mean, some bands come back together and perform even when they hate each other's guts.
Yeah.
But we'd never do that, I don't think. I can't see us ever doing that again. I don't think physically we'd be able to do it. Yeah. I don't think I could play drums. If I sat down behind a kit, I probably wouldn't last 2 hours. And who the hell wants to watch 4 basket cases on stage? It's not going to happen.
A lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I am one of them.
Oh, no, terrible, terrible. Terrible. There's too many interesting bands around to fall back on us, that's for sure.
Yeah, some fans like myself are crazy. We want to see the old timers, so to speak. I would like to see the Police again. They have offered the Led Zeppelin guy, the Pink Floyd guy, the Genesis guy, a lot of money. So it's not about the money, and I mean a lot of money. Whatever, I want to make a number up, right? They have offered the Pink Floyd guys to get together for 50 shows, $50 million. The Police, Sting, right? And Led Zeppelin and Peter Gabriel will play with Genesis again, and so on and so forth. It's a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money. And they say no, we don't need the money first, and we don't want to go back, and
They may wonder. It's I kind of don't get it, really. I mean, unless all those bands from that era made music that was better than the music that's around today and delivered something that the music today doesn't deliver. Why? I'll tell you, the best live show that I've seen recently was American Utopia. Yeah.
That's the name of the band?
Sorry? American Utopia.
Yeah.
David
I don't know them. Yeah. They're good?
Byrne. David Byrne.
Oh, David Byrne. Oh, yeah.
David, a fantastic show. Absolutely astonishingly good show. Very contemporary and beautifully presented and really cleverly put together. The stage, essentially, it was a big band and they were all dancing and they were all playing instruments strapped to them. Keyboards, drums, guitars, and they were all moving around the stage all the time. It was choreographed, the whole thing, in a very loose way, but it was brilliant. The best show I've seen for a while. I want to see Dylan when he comes around to Dublin again, I think probably in November. So if there's the other great show I've seen in the last few years was Leonard Cohen was in Dublin. That was a great show. We go out to see shows if they're memorable, and they usually are.
How many shows do you see a year, if you don't mind asking?
Not many, because there's not that many people I want to go and see.
Yeah.
And we haven't been out a great deal in the last few years because of COVID. But if there's something interesting going on, be it a show or be it a film or something of note that's of interest, then we'll go.
Yeah. I see so many shows here. It's unbelievable. I need more time and more money to do everything.
Yeah.
Hopefully my wife can keep me around and healthy. And there's so many things that I would like to do, man. I don't know how people get depressed or they get bored, or I don't know. I wish, seriously, I wish I had 30, 40 hours in in the day to do more stuff. There are projects, unfortunately, that I will never be able to do it, and therefore I need to be selective. Out of 10 ideas that I like you, I'm very specific. I have 10 ideas in my head, right? I need to pick only 3 because I would never be able to get the other 7. So I would prefer to do 3 generally well than do 6 that are poor quality, right? So but it bothers me that I cannot do the other 4 in my example. So it's I need to be, I'm getting old and I don't have all the time. I need to be selective, and but I wish, because I have the energy. I have the energy of a 20-year-old kid. I'm hungry. I'm fresh. I'm perseverant, consistent, eager, willing, but I don't have the time of the day. I work full time and so forth, and but one day I wanna, maybe when I'm 86, I wanna die and look back in my life, Kevin, and say, well, I did okay. I did have a good life. Music was important. I opened one radio station. I talked to the best musicians in the world, the 10cc guy and the Pink Floyd guys, and blah blah blah. And I want to die happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy in general. I'm very upbeat.
So long as there's nothing you're ashamed of, so long as there's nothing that you got so fucking wrong that you wish you could do it again, it kind of doesn't matter even if you aim for the stars, but you only get a couple of planets. That's all right.
Yeah. I suppose I have done stuff wrong. Many things that I have done wrong in my life. Yeah, I have for sure. But I have done a lot of things that have done well in other things. So it kind of have more pluses than minuses, so it balances out positive,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When you reach the pearly gates, if there are such things, you'll have a laminate that says that.
Yeah. Are you happy in your life, Kevin? You happy if you revisit your life?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's good, man.
I mean, still some few things I haven't done, but a lot of the things that I set out to do, I've done.
Yeah.
And done okay. So yeah, I am.
Yeah. Your journey is like a good bottle of wine, man. You're getting better and more refined with time. So your wife needs to keep you around, man.
Well, I hope so. I hope to stick around for a bit longer. It's the thing that keeps me going is the need to do things. I guess if I have an idea, whatever it is, I want to see it come to fruition.
Yeah.
I can't help that.
Well, hopefully I will meet you one day, Kevin, in the near future. I will take you out to dinner, or we go for. You don't drink beer, but we get coffee, or we're going to eat pasta, go to a vegetarian, and we talk about music, and we talk about 10cc and all the other stuff in life.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, Kevin, man.
Very enjoyable.
Same here, man. I will send you the link, and one day you will remember me, and you will see the videos and say, man, what a lunatics. 2 lunatics out of the asylum.
Nothing wrong with lunatics.
Well, nothing wrong with me.
Yeah. It's the psychopaths that are the problem.
That's right. Yeah. All right, Kevin. Thank you. Have a great night, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.